Supremacy group is under arrest tonight, suspected of murdering talk show host Alan Berg. The FBI describes their prisoner, Bruce Pierce, as, quote, a very, very dangerous member of the Aryan Nations. He is a man wanted in connection with possible death threats on public officials. The Aryan Nations is the same group which staged a cross-burning here in Los Angeles. Channel 2's Ross Becker has been investigating this group for over a year. He's here now with the details of this major arrest and the Aryan Nation's ties to Southern California. Ross?
David, according to the FBI, it is a network of racist hatred that stretches to every state in the Union. Last night, in a small town in Georgia, 60 FBI agents converged on a van loaded with hand grenades, pipe bombs, and crossbows. They arrested a man for the murder of Denver talk show host Alan Berg.
I got fed up with you. You never let me get a word edgewise.
Alan Berg had angered the white supremacists with his tough radio rhetoric. We reported exclusively last night that according to an Aryan Nation infiltrator, there was a conspiracy to kill Berg, and that a man named David Lane was part of it. Berg was gunned down in the driveway of his Denver condominium last summer.
The fact that Berg was Jewish, obviously led us to believe that, that this was a real terrorist group that was involved in this.
Channel 2 news sources tell us that David Lane drove the getaway car to escape from this scene outside of Berg's condominium the night of the shooting. Our sources also tell us that there were 3 other men with David Lane that night, all members of the Aryan Nations. Now, this man, Bruce Carroll Pierce, is under arrest. The FBI says he was the trigger man. And our sources say the execution-style murder was apparently a rite of initiation into the violent inner circle of the Aryan Nations. Investigators say it is part of a crime spree, and the catalyst may have been a cross-burning right here in Southern California.
Hail victory! Hail victory!
It was a sight not seen in Los Angeles for more than a decade. Grown men dressed in the robes of the Ku Klux Klan, shouting racist slogans and hatred, primarily for blacks and Jews. Southern California members of the Aryan Nations organized the cross-burning as a show of unity.
Remember this, men of the Aryan race. If one drop of Aryan blood is spilled tonight or any other time, there will be revenge.
The 3 gasoline-soaked crosses burning on the hillside could be seen throughout the racially mixed neighborhood. Some people considered the burning symbols emotional terrorism. The Los Angeles police considered it a crime. One of those there that Saturday night was Peter Lake, a freelance journalist who had infiltrated the Aryan Nations. He was shooting videotape, which he sold to Channel 2 News.
I was arrested, and one of the LAPD officers threw me to the ground, handcuffed me, and then proceeded to pull the wires out of my video equipment.
And Lake was there when the cross-burning was being planned.
The purpose of the cross-burning was to make a public demonstration of their power and ability to attract members.
Some big names in the white supremacy movement were arrested that night. The head of the Aryan Nations, Richard Butler, and former Southern California Klan leader Tom Metzger. 14 arrests in all, and after several appearances in court, the charges were dismissed on a technicality.
It's the first time that a cross-burning has been brought into a criminal court and criminal charges filed. And with this type of situation, we knew that it would be a drawn-out process.
But Deputy City Attorney John Phillips isn't giving up. He expects the charges to be refiled by this summer with some new evidence.
We will be able to show that when these people gathered in Los Angeles for their cross-burning, they knew that there were going to be weapons present. They knew that their actions were going to be very provocative. And that in coming with the weapons that they did, they knew that there was a great potential for violence.
They were all stiffening in the face of the opposition of the police department. They really were defiant.
For Peter Lake, he says the whole experience of infiltrating this group, becoming one of them, really opened his eyes.
Generally, they were friendly, they were gregarious, pleasant to be with, and missing some important part of their psyche. They didn't have all their marbles in place.
But it's no consolation to Lake, whose name appears on a so-called Aryan Nation hit list confiscated by the FBI. The hit list of a group connected to armed robberies and murder. City Prosecutor John Phillips' name is on that list too, but he says he's not worried.
I don't see it as being completely serious. There's 242 other city attorneys in my office, any one of whom would be willing to take this case.
And when the cross-burning case gets back before a judge, Phillips wants Aryan Nation leaders here in Los Angeles in court. Some of them are currently on the run from the FBI.
I think we'll have to do a little bit more than send them a postcard and ask them to come.
Nation members are accused in 2 separate million-dollar armored car robberies. They've been involved in several potentially deadly gun battles with FBI agents. The group is tied to an execution-style murder in Denver and with death threats on public officials. The newly formed Aryan Computer Network, which I found easy to tap into through a public number, is spewing rhetoric about weapons, racism, and the overthrow of the government. So far, this is the only man connected with the Aryan Nations who has been convicted of violence, Gary Lee Yarborough. Just last month, Yarborough was found guilty of shooting at federal agents, and he pleaded guilty to illegal possession of weapons. The cache of weapons and explosives found in the home of Gary Lee Yarborough is what law enforcement personnel point to when they talk about the potential for violence among members of the Aryan Nations. Yarborough is being held here in the Ada County Jail in Boise, Idaho.
We don't hate blacks, and we don't hate Mexicans, and we don't hate Jews. We have mistakenly been termed white supremacists, and that is not what our belief is. We are white separatists. We do believe in separation of the races.
During this jailhouse interview, Yarborough said it's the U.S. government that is corrupt and on the attack against them. The Aryan Nation violence, he says, is simple retaliation.
When the people realize that they have been duped and that they have been lied to all these years, they're going to be mad at them. And that's where the violence comes from. There's going to be bloodshed in the United States. There's no way that we can avoid it.
The trail of violence connected to this white supremacy group began just after the cross-burning in the San Fernando Valley. The current investigation into members of the Aryan Nations group is being coordinated from here, the FBI headquarters here in Washington, D.C. It's no longer a local problem. It is turning into a nationwide crime spree.
We're not after a group because of what they espouse, but when they commit crimes, then we go after them, and we go after them hard.
Do you think this group is dangerous to the public in general?
Well, innocent people have been wounded and because of the confrontations, and any group that will go to using armed weapons is a danger to any innocent bystander who might be caught in a confrontation.
Tomorrow night, our series of special reports continues with the story of a man who says he was there when Aryan Nation members began a conspiracy to commit murder, and police now claim that conspiracy ended in an execution-style killing.